now they gave us access again.
Who's that?
The governor of the legislature, that's coming out of COVID.
Oh, I don't
Give us
know.
access
You need a virtual
to
meeting?
get back to virtual meetings.
I don't know. I think it was actually introduced last session and it just never got anymore. So,
For that, you need a piece of chips over five. Okay. And Bruce, look at that. Look,
Yeah.
you're up there, I'm up here.
And she's wireless too, huh?
Wireless, that's really nice.
look at you. You're like the IT guru.
Well, you know what, I feel really not so confident right now, because we're gonna walk out the door and there's a million things that can go south.
No.
I think you got it.
Stay for the meeting.
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't thought it was probably waiting to pee.
Aw,
Brinner.
Bring her back.
that'd be awesome.
Uh,
Everyone loves a
All right,
duck.
if I don't see you, I'll see you Sunday.
I'll be here Sunday, yeah, we got a lot of things going on Sunday, I'll be here Sunday at noon. And then, for the Lake Louise meeting at 4 or 4:30? 4, okay.
And they should all be happy.
I hope so.
They're getting all new pavements and then the bridge.
And we are not gonna, we're not gonna request permission from them to use the lake for fishing this year, we're gonna request Bellwood. Because we're switching back to Bellwood, going back and forth, so.
Party, just real quick, we have that one that I,
Nice weather,
right?
Yeah.
I can always access it in an email.
Yes, no, I have it.
And if
Nobody,
you want to see
nobody
it, it's in an
think of that.
email, right?
It's the agreement.
All right, so just remember, you're up and running now
Yes.
on YouTube, you should do
Yeah,
anything.
but it's okay. I'm not concerned about anyone.
You got no users on YouTube either, so you guys are live, everything's working, the microphone's hot. Watch what you say and I'm leaving.
So you go home and watch us on YouTube?
Well, if you have a problem, call me, I can turn around and come back.
Thanks,
All right,
Mike.
see you
so
guys.
much.
See you later.
So you two, you don't have to worry, Bruce, about saying anything.
Oh,
Oh,
I
here we go. Steve's joining us.
Why do you like trouble for this? When is,
Of course, tornado,
Hey,
yes.
Steve,
just to record, thank you.
all right, we got Steve behind you. Steve, I think you may, are you still muted?
I'm not.
No, okay, we hear you. We have YouTube and Zoom going at the same time.
Yeah, YouTube, what?
Here comes Eric.
Is YouTube the live stream of the meeting or something? What do you use it for?
Okay, we also have John Hitchcock joining us.
Mark, I don't,
Eric,
I
I'm
don't
seeing you
mind.
for a while.
I don't mind, but
You're on mute.
you're the main place here. That's Jeff. It might be small, but just, yeah, whatever you want to do. Hi,
I
sorry.
never could see Danielle.
Hi,
I
Steve.
never had it anymore.
We have Jim and Mark.
Where am I sitting?
Mark, did you see?
I did.
Switch the name place.
Oh,
there's
there's
a
a
name.
good one.
They're both very comfortable seats.
Who do I call next?
You're gonna be over there, I'm sitting here.
Yeah, good idea. There are drawbacks to having just the split screen. I guess. Like I can't see behind me.
Right,
You
but
can't.
that's okay.
So we need another TV.
We need one right.
Yeah, another big screen.
ARPA fund? Just kidding. Just kidding, it's not fun.
Solomon from Rosewood.
Here you go.
So are we ready to call the order or are all the members there?
We are missing Elisa Rudolph. We have Steve, Eric, John Hitchcock, myself, Mark, and Jim are in the room, so.
Did she say she was coming? I know the market closes at 4,
Yeah,
so.
Oh, she did?
She might be in transit.
Oh,
Okay, she was. Oh, wait, I think she's pulling in that. She drives the BMW, right? That's her.
She's,
Yeah. So, we can wait.
Mark, or Jim, were you able to open this?
Yeah, but it's printed out. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay, perfect.
But yeah, it was,
Mark, do you have this? You have it. It's in the packet.
it's on the code book.
So.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what our standard is. 'Cause this is a subdivision review, right?
No. Easement.
Yeah, but why are we doing it?
And it, because,
Because it's a subdivision?
no, because it's a drainage easement. So here it's in this one, it's not in their zoning code.
No.
So it's under.
Are you guys looking at the subdivision rules or the zoning?
Yep. I think it's on page 28, the subdivision rules. And then also I thought appendix A, but they're also mentioned here.
Are you looking at, is everybody there now?
Yes.
That's okay. Well, why don't we get these, sorry, we can throw this on the record. Is Ruth there to take roll call?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Steve Ledrick,
I am mostly there, yes.
James Clay,
Here.
Mark Porter,
Here.
William Coons,
Here.
Elisa Rudolph.
Yes, it's inside.
All right, so I think, the uniqueness of having this hybrid is because of who did in the village. I think I'm only on, the mayor's computer, right?
You're on the big screen opposite the, what do you
Okay,
see?
you got, okay, good. So we have one agenda item for this special meeting today, regarding the green easement, the Whitetail, area off of 306 Manor. Maybe, unless somebody else has another idea, maybe, I don't know who's gonna be presenting this, but maybe an overview of the project real quick. Eric, I don't know if that's you or somebody else, but it seems like that might be a fair alley.
Sure, let me mute here for a second. To agree project, summary is, we the village, are looking to, increase the culvert size, that's under 306, it's in the vicinity of the Red Ranch. There's two culverts, there's a large elliptical concrete culvert, which is fine, it's sized properly for the drainage area, it's tributary to, it'll help me out maybe like about 4 years ago, we did a north central drainage study, to look at specifically why the properties on the east side of Chillicothe flood out, and we're actually surprised that there was a second culvert, it's about 12 inches in size, and it transitions under the roadway somewhere to an 18-inch size. But the inlet of it is 12-inch, which goes under the roadway. We were surprised to find that culvert has a 12-inch inlet drains about 30 acres. And that's really the cause of the flooding. That culvert needs to be upsized to, I believe it's a 30-inch culvert that was identified in the study. And we are in the process of getting that project together along with replacement of, I think, 3 other culverts that cross 306 and other areas that are in bad shape. But there's concern that the areas that were downstream that area, be it, Fox Run and Sugar Bush and ultimately areas to the south and west are all downstream of that. And the residents said, rightfully so, boy, if you increase that culvert size, water is no longer gonna be impounded on the east side of 306, but it's gonna come through our yards and through our neighborhoods faster. And the response was, yeah, it will, and that's not something that they were looking to hear. So the purpose of this project is twofold. We were able to get what's called a 319 grant, to complete this project. And the 319 grant program, largely is for habitat restoration and if you do it right, though, you can add a very significant amount of floodplain storage and retention in with it, to also get funded, and that's what we're doing, with this project. So the floodplain, for the area that's inside of our drainage easement that we're gonna be talking about tonight, or this afternoon, is sized appropriately to buffer that flow, meaning the amount of de facto storage that was happening on the east side of 306, we're creating on the west side of 306 for a net zero effect, to neighborhoods downstream. So that's, this project's gonna include, excavation of a really large floodplain area, that will be able to accumulate, store water and slowly release it, after the rain has subsided, and it will buffer the flows, basically the amount of flow that was on the west side of 306, velocities and quantities are going to be mirrored very closely, after this project is complete, even after we upsize that culvert to take it across the river. That project.
So, because I read through everything, and I just had a couple of questions, and then I think I heard some comments earlier, maybe some of the subregs, but just from a practical standpoint, I read through everything, but I'm not an engineer, and so, I appreciated Jim asking for that map that's in there, so thanks for sending that. So, it looks like there's 2 points that touch 306, so is that because of the 2 culverts that are coming in? That's the first.
Actually, let me pull that.
I don't know if that one pulled up on doing that, but then basically you're making that what is a pond or, retention area right now larger. So basically, if somebody was driving by this, it looked like a big lake when it's heavy rains right there, big pond there.
After it rains, that whole area would be flooded with about 2 feet of water.
And then the culverts, are they where the blue lines are touching 306?
The culvert that we'll be replacing, is where the southernmost point is, where it touches 306. Closest to the Vanderbrook Boulevard Drive entrance. The big elliptical culvert with the big, we call it the big ditch, on the east side of 36, crosses there in the northern area, just where it says easement, kind of by the T there. That's where the main stream channel is. So that's why we'll be creating, a meandering stream pattern and a wide floodplain area in that area. But no culvert replacement there. The culvert replacement is gonna happen farther south on that, where it's closer to the Vanderbrook Drive entrance.
Eric, doesn't water flood, so where the northern part of the easement is, isn't there flooding where the kind of the ditch comes from Palmetto? It floods there and gets backed up. You're not
It does flood there. However, the cause of the flooding there is because water's trying to come in, and we've got almost 30 acres that are tributary from 12-inch inlet to the south. So just south of the river. And it can't get through there. So it builds up, and eventually it builds up up enough so that it touches the point where it gets to the bigger elliptical culvert to the north and flows through there. So a lot of that flooding that you're seeing at the big elliptical culvert, to the north, is because it's taking water that's built up, and it's now taking water that should be going through that southern culvert.
So is it coming down the ditch line on the east side of Chillicothe from the north to the south, the water?
The water that's coming into the big elliptical culvert where the big ditch is coming from the north and from the east.
From Bell Meadow, that ditch, that's the big ditch, right? Is that,
It's all culvert.
okay.
Eric, can you show the big ditch? I think I know where it is, but can you point to it?
Am I in a share screen here?
Is it, are you talking about this?
None up.
No,
So
way
it's
up and
up
to the
here, is
right.
it off the screen? Because I'm on Google
No,
Earth
it's
here.
on this way to
There
Yeah,
it is.
that's the ditch.
There it is, okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at this.
Eric, where's the 12-inch pipe? Is that to the south? That
Will
one,
you say that again?
the 12-inch pipe is to the south, where the mayor's pointing?
I can't see where the mayor's pointing.
From Ralph Richards' yard.
Yeah, it's across. the
Yeah,
ditch.
that's where it is, by
All
Ralph
right,
Richards, yeah,
thank you.
And what are you enlarging the 12-inch culvert to? What size?
30 inches.
So I guess I'm confused. You were saying that the 12-inch culvert, the reason that the north culvert is backing up is because not enough water is getting through the 12-inch culvert on the southern part of the easement.
Correct.
Okay, so that the elliptical culvert, is that a 30-inch culvert to the north?
The elliptical culvert is.
Well, I guess it's not round,
I
so
want
it's,
to say it's like 32 by 48 or something, it's a.
Oh, so that's huge.
Concrete elliptical culvert. Yeah.
so I guess I'm just confused how the one way down the road, that where's the water backing up? Is it backing up the ditch on the east side of Chillicothe? Or is
It
it,
is backing up, correct, it's backing up on the ditch on the east side and in the front and rear yards of all the homes on the east side.
okay,
Until it gets deep enough that it can touch the big ditch to the north and then finally get it across, through the elliptical culvert.
See, when I look at, so I don't think I can screen share, it. I'm just, on Google Maps on the street, it looks like 306, the elevation falls south to north. So as you leave Manor Grove, at least what I'm looking at, it appears that the road goes lower.
It does.
The further you get away from Manor Grove and closer to that culvert. So I think, Jim, your question is a good one. If you look at the way this map, that there is on the east side of 36 is a big ditch. There's a big ditch. And on the west side, there's a big hill that blocks, the view into that area of Whitetail. So I can see how the water would back up into that big side ditch, east of 306, all the way back up to that further northern culvert.
yeah,
I can't screen share, but I totally see what Eric's talking about.
How does the flow correction not flood the west side? But where does the water in the?
it'll flood that blue area. So that blue area will
It'll
fill up
flood
like a
in the-
bathtub.
Okay, and then that. will
Yeah, that
form
retention.
Kind of a residual flow?
Yeah, so Eric, maybe walk us through what's the current retention pond's relationship with this kind of floodplain you're creating?
Can you say that again?
Like the retention pond, does that have a spillway right now into like the easement? Is that where the water, where's the outflow on the retention pond?
There's a retention pond just to the
What?
west of where your southwest corner of the easement is.
Yeah, it's not functioning very well as a retention pond. Right now, the outlet is currently pretty blocked up and it's very full all the time. So I doubt we're getting much, if any, retention capacity out of that pond in its current state. This project will give that pond a dedicated outlet, so it will be able to flow into the stream channel that will be creating and enhancing, in that easement area.
Well, the easement.
Where does it go from there?
Where does it go from there? It goes under Manor Brook, through Fox Run, and to Sugar Bush, and ultimately ends up at Chelsea Court, where it is in part of the creek.
And I don't know the terminology, so try not to make fun of my novice words here. Like a subterranean type water, I mean, is there a stream?
Yeah, I think next time,
It's a big open drainage channel, it's a stream.
Okay.
next to the Gurney driveway, like, you know, where it goes under Belvedere,
Yeah,
that's where all this ends up.
okay.
Is that gonna affect the field occurring?
No, that's what, other way. So, Eric, what is the culvert size underneath Manor Brook Drive right now?
There are three, I believe, 36-inch culverts, if I'm not mistaken.
So will that restrict water sufficiently to flood this easement area? Is that the thought, or?
No, we have to manually do it by shaping the land and putting what's called grade control structures in the creek, or in the new stream channel, to cause that water to slow down and then in effect back it up. So it causes the floodplains to be accessed and gives us our storage capacity.
So are you creating some sort of like spillway at the end of this easement before it hits the Manor Brook culverts? or-
It's not necessarily just built, but it's just the, and the one flood will narrow and neck up, and we'll do some like rock armoring up the sides, to only allow a certain amount of water to come through. So once the flow rate that's passing through that stream starts exceeding that amount that we allow through, that's when the water will start backing up into the floodplain and flood the low area that we're creating.
So do you see less water going underneath Manor Brook during like a major rain event than currently is with these improvements?
So I see about the same.
Okay,
I see about the same.
okay, because I thought part of this was to help the people on the east side of 306, but I also thought part of it was to ease up what was heading through Sugar Bush and down into Chelsea.
No, I would love to, and we're looking into that a little more, with a separate project. We're definitely looking to alleviate the flooding on the east side of Chillicothe while maintaining a net zero effect on the west side. We don't want to make it any worse for the folks who live west of Chillicothe downstream. This project is barely big enough to offset the flooding that gets impounded on the east side. We're just moving that now, letting it flow free under Chillicothe and now impounding on the west side. But the volume of water that we're capable of storing is about the same. So it'll be a very net zero effect. It won't be any worse, but it conversely won't really be any better, for the folks on the west side of Chillicothe.
Eric, and you're talking about, this is net zero after the 36 or the 12-inch pipe has been replaced.
It's been upsized.
Correct.
It's a net zero downstream of the easement. Okay.
Okay.
So it won't help them, but won't hurt them.
Won't help a little more. I would love for it to help, but we barely have the room in the easement to accommodate the water that's currently ponding on the east side of Chillicothe. We just don't have the room in this phase of the project. I'm hopeful that this project goes well and the public opinion is good, that we'll be able to gain access to additional properties in the south along that creek and do a phase 2 or maybe even a phase 3 to really start to offset and to start alleviating the flows that people on the west side of Chillicothe are currently seeing.
How much of the easement location do you have to take trees out? And when you take them out, I couldn't quite follow the plan. Is that retention area to backfill with, I couldn't name all the different plants and things, but the way I read this project is that we're gonna have to take a lot of the trees that exist out there to get into the retention area.
Right.
So how much of that blue area are trees being cut? And what are you actually doing that with, other than grass?
That blue area, almost all of that blue area, save for some larger trees that we have delineated in the clearing limit code. I think there were a small handful, three or four larger trees that we said we should be able to save those. But most of that land is being cleared and lowered by about 2 feet. And replanted with more, native vegetation, woody material, to stabilize it and make it a more natural wandering stream corridor rather than just straight through ditch.
Okay.
And that's a requirement of the 319 grant only.
Yeah.
Steve, are you looking at the Google Earth thing too?
I'm going back and forth
Yeah.
between what
I have it
Eric
up.
sent.
And it looks to me, on what I'm seeing, it looks like it is all trees except for that, like, area where the current ditch.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's, Eric, I mean, just on that topic, that's why I wanted you to do the overlay on the satellite photo, because and by the way, I think this is a great project, but, a concern, I don't think people realize that you're clear cutting several acres of trees.
Yeah, about 3 acres.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's gonna, when you're driving down 306, that is gonna be a stark, when you guys clear cut 3 acres of trees right there, I don't think people have a good realization or appreciation of how, at least at the beginning, how bad that's gonna look. So I guess what I was gonna ask Bridie was, can we require screening? Can we require the village to, I'm concerned about the house on the north side of this. I mean, they're gonna have the woods adjacent to their home clear cut, and they're gonna be looking at this thing. And then I'm also concerned about those condos have a pretty good privacy barrier now. And they're gonna lose that. I mean, there's gonna be increased noise, and certainly you'll be able to see those condos pretty clearly, even I think during the summer, after this is clear cut. So can we require, as a planning commission, screening on the north side of the easement and on the west side of the easement?
Probably. I just
Okay.
don't think we can use grant funds.
No, I
To do
mean,
that.
no,
What about trees?
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
You have plant pine trees,
Like, quick,
a
are
row of
they
pine, yeah,
all around it?
Yeah.
Can they keep the vegetation that's there on the edge, or do you have to clear it out all the way to the blue line?
That's,
Well, let me ask this, as thinking back up, which is asking. So Whitetail signed this agreement. How did Whitetail get to the point of agreeing with this project? What was their process? Does anybody know?
sure. It took about 3 years, almost. And at one point, they owned, this project was going to be 4 parcels. It's a long story, but there was an issue with the ownership and the title of the other 3 parcels. At some point, then it became an issue where Whitetail was not involved. I think they quitclaimed their interest to another entity, which was the Manor Gardens Condo Owners Association. So there was a revamping actually of the project and splitting it up into 2 phases and asking if Whitetail would provide the village an easement and environmental covenant. That's the other part that's sort of important because OEPA does require that for this grant. And they are signatory to this drainage easement and environmental covenant. So Whitetail then did sign on to the agreement and agreed to it. I think that, again, they own the largest parcel. I think it's 5-point-some acres. And of the 4 that were originally contemplated. And they did sign off, I believe it was the president that signed off in December. The village signed off and then we had to send it to the OEPA and the OEPA took a bit of time. They also, by the way, they are the ones that actually reviewed the environmental covenant and drainage easement and it had to be to their standards. So if this does not look like your typical easement, that's why. So anyway, Whitetail, yes, and I don't know if they took a vote, I'm assuming they did. I was not part and parcel of the homeowners association meetings. I didn't go to any of those, but as I understand it, as reported back that the president had authority to sign, and he did sign in December.
Steve, I can add that I attended their homeowner association meeting that specifically addressed this project. The mayor was there as well. And we took their questions and answered their concerns about what the project was and what it would look like. And my recollection is that the vote, if there was a vote, took place after the mayor and I departed that meeting. So as far as we know, the president of the Whitetail Association had the authority to sign this based on the consent of the membership that we've been attending. So from our point of view, the village's point of view, that was a major step toward making this happen. But as Brady noted, it's basically half the project that was originally envisioned. But as the engineer mentioned, it was our hope that once this half project is done, the other half, Manor Brook may be more inclined to explore that with the village.
Why did they only want to do half? Is that because there's still an ownership issue with the lots on the south side of Hannibal?
No, probably one of the biggest reasons was that, at least my recollection is that Manor Brook wanted $10,000 a year for the easement.
So they didn't get anything for this?
The Whitetail is receiving compensation,
It's like $100 or
$100
something.
for the easement.
Oh, okay. Oh, the condos on that north side of the road, the Whitetail owns the south side?
No,
Different.
other way around. So Whitetail owns the easement, the parcel that we are talking about only. The other three parcels are now owned by Manor Brook Gardens, I believe, Condo Owners Association. It
Yes.
was at one point still in the original developer's name, then it was quitclaimed to Whitetail. Then there was an ownership issue, as I understand it, between Whitetail and Manor Brook Gardens as to actually who owned those other three parcels. And to this day, I believe it's Manor Brook Gardens Condo Owners Association is the title.
So at one point, Whitetail owned all four officially. Manor Brook Gardens objected because they believed they were paying taxes on it, they had taken care of it. They owned the three parcels south of Manor Brook Drive. However, eventually, it got worked out so that Manor Brook Gardens owns the three parcels south of Manor Brook Drive officially per the recorder's records. Whitetail owns the one north, which is what this portion, this project is what we're dealing with now. So fundamentally, Whitetail controls the property that we're talking about today. Manor Brook Gardens controls the property south of Manor Brook, which may eventually be part of the project.
But doesn't this project impact the Manor Brook Garden condos? Isn't this Manor Brook Garden condos?
Back over here it is, that's not on their part.
Behind these,
But they can see it.
I don't know. I would assume.
so the clear cutting will impact the people who didn't give you grant the easement, is what my point is.
They wouldn't enter into the agreement.
They don't own the property. It's like when Fellowship.
No, I
They
understand,
cleared out all the trees. People don't like it, but they didn't own the property.
The village would much have preferred to do the entire project, but because of the 319 grant timing, half the project, which is what we see before us today, the village decided to go forward with that. You can also add that the subject of trees and replacing trees has come up in council meeting. And council is probably, I don't speak for council, but I would say council is probably inclined to do that after project completion, because the last thing council wants to do is antagonize, 50 homeowners, if we don't have to.
No, that's fine, I just think that the planning commission could impose it as conditional approval.
I don't think council would object.
Okay.
Let me ask this, so, is this, so the folks on the east side of Pier 6 are going to be clearly benefiting from this, because right now, due to tremendous water issue. Other than those personal properties, is there a benefit to the village itself, or what other issues does this prevent? And let me just be clear on the question. I don't take lightly, and it is potentially problematic that we are doing something for the benefit of one group of personal property owners to the detriment of another. That gets into some really tough areas. So what is the benefit to the village beyond getting water out of the front yard for people that own houses on the east side?
The benefit to the village is, we truly have an interest in the Chillicothe Road right of way, so going forward for the village. That is an elevated, that's an elevated area. Chillicothe Road is access to dam. That impounds water on the east, water wants to flow from east to west. It can't effectively do it well because there's a culvert that the longer,
I think Eric has a 12-inch culvert internet pipeline.
Right.
Yeah,
We,
maybe 8-inch.
so the water's not running over the road, it's running to the road and backing up into your yard.
Well, that's true north of 36 and Bell.
creates pressure on the
It's going over
Steve,
through.
you
when it does saturate that embankment and it does jeopardize the integrity of the road.
There is flooding over 306, south of the Bell 306 intersection, which is going to be addressed by another culvert project. But the reason to do the 319 work as we proposed is because ODOT is going to resurface 306. Is that next year, Eric, still?
Yeah,
We want our pipes to be replaced before they repave the road because it's going to take some effort and disturb the road probably to replace these culverts. So rather than us replace the culverts and then pay to repave part of it, we would do it before the state does the repaving. That's the idea.
So when are they repaving through? I mean, are you gonna be able to get this area dug out and create a sufficient water impoundment area before that southern culvert's replaced?
that's our goal, yes.
Okay. So you're gonna have to start this like in a month, right? Is this
Yes.
thing been bid
A
out?
month and a half or so.
Is it been bid out?
Not yet, we can't do that until the easement has been recorded.
That's-
Do you know what month they're paving 306?
It's next year, it'll be next, probably July, August of 2023.
Because if you don't have this done and you put a 30-inch culvert in instead of a 12-inch culvert, that's gonna cause the problems on the west side of 306 downstream to increase significantly, right?
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay. When's this going out to bid?
Well, once we get the recorded, easement and environmental covenant, then I think, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, the council authorized you to go and solicit bids and quotes, correct, for the clearing of the trees?
Correct.
Okay,
We did.
We're soliciting quotes for clearing. We want to get clearing, we need to get clearing done quickly, back issue with clearing. So we need to have the clearing completed by March 31st. The construction portion of the project will be advertised for bid next week.
Oh, okay.
The clearing will happen before March 31st though.
Well, I mean, again, worthwhile project. I wish you could have done the whole project. But it just, my main concern is that you're clear cutting 3 acres, you're affecting these condos who are clearly a group of people who aren't in favor of this project because they wouldn't let you have an easement on the other part. And then you've got the house to the north, so.
Do they know, that's my question, the house to the north, are they aware of this project at all?
House to the north, I would say probably does not know about it unless they picked it up over the past couple of years. And also, I wouldn't say that the people of Manor Gardens, the condominiums that look onto this, did not refuse us access to their 4 parcels, which are south of this easement. We just ran out of time in dealing, their demands were quite high. $10,000 a year every year and some other things when we got this blue easement for $100. But they did not refuse to work with us. We just felt we had to get this part done by the end, September 30th of this year, the grant runs out. Now, I'm confident we can get an extension. We've had good relationships with the Ohio EPA, but we'll have this part done. And frankly, I think after the people of Manor see how well we take care of this and how well we take care of them, that they'll be agreeable to talk about the 4 parcels. And these are 4 small parcels, and they are south of the easement. One of them is north of Manor Brook, and the other 3 are south. They are basically east of their driveway to their water system. They have their own private water system.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's in the south of Manor Brook, west of Chillicothe are basically the 3 areas. It's about 4.65 acres that we hopefully will be coming back to them and probably starting in 2023 saying, this is what we would like to do.
Nothing can be done on the east side of the road with drainage. That's run over.
This is the best way to deal with it. I mean, I suppose there are other answers,
The
but
French drain couldn't handle it, yes.
There's just no room over there. You
Yeah.
know, everything's
And I know
lighter
we
lots,
can
you
hold
know,
fire lots.
there's just,
I mean, theoretically, you can dig the ditch 50 feet down and make it 10 feet wide.
that holds enough. I mean, this will hold, this is
Yeah.
3 acres, 2
It's a lot,
feet of
yeah.
water. It's a
Yes.
ton of water.
And
No, it's a great
I
project.
need to, be scheduled for today, and I push it to 4:30, I think it could be done in about a half hour, and their fee. So unless there's other engineering.
You clearly haven't done a thing.
Yes, because you haven't been to
Yeah.
That was my fault, Eric.
I thought that you guys were all better than council.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who that makes us ahead of everybody at work.
Then I've done my job.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, guys.
I would just like to see some screening. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. But I think that you guys are underestimating. I mean, there's gonna be you cut 3 acres of woods down over there, it's gonna look like horrible. It'll come back and it'll look, you know, but the initial shot is gonna be, I mean, you guys can focus, not me, so, but I'm just, it's gonna look bad.
You know, we've had initial discussions with Manor Brook on the size of trees that we could possibly put in.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you look on the easement picture that Ruth has up there, you're probably going to see, to do arborvitae.
This is a winter picture, so it doesn't look as bad. When you look at the
Yeah.
summer picture, all of those twigs are trees.
Yeah.
No, there's some mature trees in there. I mean, if you're keeping 6 trees,
some of them are staying, yeah.
But, you know, I would imagine you're probably, this is that creek bed.
yes.
It's all carved out. And you're probably gonna end up with probably something along here. I don't know if you do arborvitae or trees or something to create a green lawn. I mean, if I was over here, I would not be happy to see semis going down from Route 6.
Well, that's my point. I mean, I guess,
Yeah,
so,
right.
I think
You
that like almost the whole blue line for the most part, that could be some type of evergreen.
Yeah,
Will
that
that
would-
impact the project though, in any way, shape or form, or the functionality of the meandering stream? I just wanna make sure, and can we do that regarding, again, if we're doing the entire blue line, I don't.
Well, not necessarily.
No,
A good chunk.
I would think
The north.
the north, well, I was thinking more, I don't know, would you rather have, I mean, this, if you look at, so they're gonna change the streamline according to this plan. So this is gonna then come up into here, at least if you look at what Eric's doing. So I think you could plant trees along here. And maybe some along, even if all the way back, but,
Not all the way, but just in a, because
Yeah.
there's a house right up
because you still have some scrub here.
there.
There's a gas line also that runs through here. This is all cleared now.
Yeah.
So theoretically,
Yeah, I
the
would
village
plant it.
could come in on this side right away and plant trees where it's all cleared, because it's not gonna, see, we're gonna do everything west of that. You know, if you get a line, it's a green line.
Except that we have to stay within the easement
Yeah.
boundaries.
But if,
What I would suggest is that, the planning commission perhaps approve this easement and environmental, whatever it is, provided that village council, upon project completion, per the engineer's recommendation, plant a sufficient quantity of trees along the eastern edge of the easement, which is very close to the stream line.
could we approve it? Could we approve it and require that the engineer within 60 days come back to planning commission with a landscape plan?
So 60 days from approval now?
Yeah.
Or 60 days after the project is?
No, like we would approve it. And then there would be, the landscape plan would then be part of, I mean, again, I don't think you could use funds for the screening, but
I don't know. I think that was the concern.
I mean, how many trees are we talking about here?
That's
Could be.
really hard.
it'd be 50 trees.
Well, let's say the 50 trees and, you know, the 3-inch maples and you go from there.
Well, I think we want,
Or, you know, have an arborist recommend the proper trees put there because they have to be, I guess, salt resistant or something.
I think we should treat the village like we would treat any developer or anybody else. Strict standards that we can hold them to. And, you know, so that would be bring us I mean, I don't want to hold up the project, but that would be bring us a landscaping plan, the type of trees, where the trees are going to be placed, and planning commission approves that. I'd say we approve this, but that a requirement is the village engineer comes back to us with a landscaping plan
Okay.
for
Screening.
screening on the eastern border of the easement, north of the elbow. Does that sound?
I would say the northern, eastern, and southern.
You think we need it on the southern? I mean,
I'm not sure.
But
But I think
what
if
about
we-
the western,
yeah.
if you're worried about Hanover, do you think there's enough brush behind it that they won't see it? You're more concerned about.
Well,
the
you
ways
put,
over
you
it.
put the trees one place or the other. I don't think you need trees in both places initially anyway. And if you do it on the eastern side, north and, you know, basically, more or less where that stream is, then you have trees that screen the properties, and as they grow down the road, we could also put them on the western side.
yeah, I mean, I feel like if the screening's closer to 306, that would be better.
So you're
Maybe
talking that
more
northern
effective.
part.
So along the northern, I mean, I don't know how far does this house go? I mean, I don't know if it's the whole northern part, but 2/3 of it, I don't know.
May I ask a more practical question? When we adopt today, I was trying to read through the subdivision, right? Does it then require the village to do this to move forward as approved by the planning commission? Or then does council have to do something, or like, what does the planning commission actually have the authority to do here? So we could require that under the planning commission regs and the subdivision regs, right?
With that,
But they've already made these agreements with like Whitetail. So how does this work?
No, I think you can do exactly how you would treat any other developer. If they want, I think the project can still go out for bid. I think the clear cutting, if in fact council agrees and finds a quote or a proposal with the clear cutting of the tree, can move forward. And I still think though that the engineer could be asked to come back with a landscaping plan for the screening. I think you're approving the easement, you're talking now about buffering and making sure that, quite frankly, the village is a good neighbor and screening this project.
So we would do two things, two motions, one for the easement and the other.
No, we would approve the easement,
Right.
we approve the easement and grant it, subject to the condition that the village is going to provide screening on the eastern and northern portions of the easement. and that the village engineer will present a landscaping plan to planning commission within 60 days that will be, subject to approval by the planning commission.
But if
The land, this
If
landscaping.
we don't break it up, does that lead to the possibility that some court could say, yes, you can do the project, but you have to have the plan first?
No, you wouldn't have to have it'd be like if a developer was coming in and and we said, okay, we're gonna let you do this, but it's gonna be screening, and we want you to come back with a plan for the school, we've done that. Okay, we don't wanna hold up, we don't wanna hold up your subdivision.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you can do it, we approve it, but it's gonna require screening on the eastern end, and you're gonna come back with a landscaping plan, and then, so Eric's gonna come back and he'll have a landscaping plan, and then we may want more trees, we want less trees, we may want them here, we may want them there, right? But we could talk through that.
Do you want to just make it kind of a little bit more general as far as the landscaping plan for screening purposes? If we say eastern or northeastern, what if?
Yeah, that's good.
How about a landscaping plan that will sufficiently screen the project or the traffic from 306 from adjoining homeowners?
If we go into the traffic though, we're not getting into noise, because you can hear the traffic.
No, no matter what, yeah.
And timing wise, what if for accessing the construction of the project, should that, the trees cannot be yet planted?
Well, I don't think they've been planted,
Okay.
right?
Right, no.
I mean, right, Steve? I mean, you can't, they're gonna have to clear cut everything, dig this thing out,
Yes.
put all these things in.
Right.
And it's gonna be probably the final, it's gonna be the final, like you would with a subdivision. When you come in, yeah, Ashley, we did that, they had a final, they had to come in and plant the trees and then.
So we're talking about September. This is gonna be done, and we can get those trees in the fall.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I mean, Eric can come to us with a plan, like I said, 60, 90 days, what do you guys wanna do? I mean, it could be,
I would go 90 days.
okay, so within 90 days, the engineer will present a landscaping plan to the planning commission
Yes.
for screening.
So I think we should be clear on the intent, whatever we got, it's good, but just what is our intent, is it aesthetics? Like, let's give the engineers some direction on the screen and around, what our objectives are in having, is it, trying to maintain as much of the natural look that exists today aesthetically? I mean, I don't think it's a noise thing, we're not gonna be able to really address that. There's just too many trees coming out where I don't think we can objectively say you could block any more noise than exists today.
Yeah, I think it's visual, we wanna provide a natural visual barrier for the affected homeowners.
So it's aesthetic rather than anything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
We don't want to hold the project up.
no.
We want this done after the project is done, but we're making this requirement so that it gets done.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a motion on that thing.
No, we won't do that.
Just like you said,
Okay.
Motion to approve the drainage easement and environmental covenant. And,
Conditioned upon
right,
the village engineer within 90 days presenting a final landscaping plan to the final landscaping plan for the end of the project.
Can we
For,
say condition because that, they're gonna go ahead and plow it through, whether we like plan or not.
Let's say and.
And
No, we
provide us,
approve,
not all condition.
And engineer to provide.
yeah, that's my only concern is,
It can't be conditional because they'll already cleared it out. And if we don't have a plan, it's like, it's done.
well, it's gotta be, okay, how about not conditioned upon, we grant it. And the village is required to do the following. The engineer will present a landscaping plan within 90 days of planning commission. And planning commission, and then the village will be required to implement a landscaping plan that planning commission approves. Is that good?
Let's look through the calendar real quick, guys, so, because 90 days, so I think we should set this up so that they can come back on a regular scheduled Thursday. So our next meeting is the 10th. So if we're going 90 days, why don't we just say by March, April, May,
You wanna say June?
May 12th? May or June, just pick one. I'm just saying, let's just put a date in it around 90 days so that.
How about June 10th? How about on or before June 10th?
Well, we could
Well,
modify.
I'd like to present it at the June planning.
Before you
Modify,
come in.
say, give it to us 90 days, we will consider it our next meeting, regular scheduled meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good, March, yeah, so you can email it to us and then,
It
okay,
doesn't need approval within 90
I
days.
just wanna make it
It's
easier for her.
submitted
yeah, that's fine.
within 90 days.
Submit it within 90, because she's, doesn't,
Yeah,
is there, is
No, I know that doesn't. But he has like, they have like a steep architect edition.
Yeah,
it is, it's not rocket science.
No, no. And one of you guys will talk about what we're thinking, right?
yes, for sure. So it's been moved and seconded.
Has it been?
Roll call.
I'm sorry, you made the motion?
Yes,
And who
Mark
seconded?
seconded. I seconded.
Okay, thank you. Steve,
Can someone just restate what the motion says?
Hopefully Brad wrote it down, I forgot.
I scribbled it. I was gonna cobble it together during the minutes.
No, that's
Go ahead, right.
Move to approve the drainage easement and environmental covenant. And move to require the village,
Comma, and
right, comma, and move to require the village to present a landscape plan that will sufficiently screen the project by creating a natural visible screen
Barrier.
or barrier within 90 days and to be presented to planning commission at its,
No, and then, that's not, and final landscaping plan to be approved by the planning commission.
that is next
Right.
regular
Well, whatever.
scheduled meeting,
Yeah.
and what you said.
sorry.
Put that in one.
That's okay. Is that okay, Steve?
That sounded
Sorry.
perfect. As
The way you just.
long as Ruth's still confident, she's gonna be able to put that in the record sufficiently, I'm good.
Yes.
Yep, I hope to do that, and you guys have to approve it, of course, so.
And who made the motion, who made the motion and who seconded?
I made it, Mark seconded.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Okay, Ruth, we'll take roll call?
Steve Lekovic,
Yes.
James Blake.
Yes.
Mark Porter,
Yes,
William Coons,
Yes,
Elisa Duda.
All right.
That's good.
Well, look at that, under an hour for a special meeting, so. Thank you, everybody, sorry I couldn't be on, site. Mayor?
Steve, are we gonna be back here for the central retention basin?
We probably will.
Okay, we're probably gonna have to repeat this for the construction south of Village Hall. So now we know how to behave.
Possibly, we'll see. Easement or not, probably not, because that's out.
No,
of
you
the-
own the property.
That's out.
Yeah, there's no easement.
So no easement, but there might be an environmental covenant.
Real? Is there grant money for it?
No, there's not.
No, but this is
We're just digging.
COVID month.
Never mind.
Gosh,
I'm
two bullets.
sorry, Steve, we're over there.
okay.
All right, so we all wrapped up?
It's not COVID money. It's
We need to move to
governmental
adjourn.
operations. Oh, I'll move to adjourn. Sorry.
Wear masks.
We need an all in favor?
Yes, I.
Aye.
Yeah, and my client called, I mean,
Thank you all for doing this.
what's that?
All this, you know,
Yeah.
what you have to do is like, we're not so, we're no formal adjournment. And then we did that for a while, then we went back to adjournment, but it's all right.
Now we have.
Kind of flexible, everyone's
Well,
different.
why didn't they do it when it was, they extended it?
So here's what happened.
Why didn't they do it when Omicron was at its worst now?
So,
My
it makes
legislature
sense,
actually
yeah.
did introduce it when Omicron was there,
Yeah,
but it didn't, it was in the lame duck session.
We're still used to it.
Yeah.
Forever silent.
Yeah.
so I was like, so I don't care if I'm listening, I'm not
Hey,
going out.
hey, Jim,
Yeah.